Jo Frost of Supernanny fame still stands by timeouts for creating some positive, healthy boundaries. Hello friends, welcome to my channel. For the latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. What does gentle parenting mean apart from the fact that we must, as parents, become more conscious of meeting our children's needs? Frost tells Yahoo Life. Some will say it means no discipline and no consequences at all, and others will say it does. That's my point. Nobody is quite clear. Frost's show ran in the US in the mid-2000s and had several versions in different countries. In each episode, the British nanny would visit a new family and help both children and parents navigate everything from toddler tantrums to sibling rivalry to bedtime meltdowns and more. Frost has been in the nanny business more than 35 years, and although she's no longer on television, she is still very much helping families online. Is another technique gaining popularity that Frost disagrees with. Frost, known for using a timeout chair, recommends children remain in timeout for 1 minute per age. If a child gets up before the time is over, the timer is reset to the beginning. Timeout and Jo Frost seem quite synonymous with one another, because obviously it was a practice of mine within my shows, but it seems now that has been taken out of context and misconstrued, Frost says. Every person has their own agenda of what a timeout is. They will make up what a timeout is, and they will then unravel why it's no good. And then, there is my version of what I call a timeout that is modified from a practice that was happening back in the 1900s, a very clear explanation of the importance of why a timeout creates healthy boundaries and the importance of that. It would seem that a lot have abused the timeout to really control a child, rather than to feel like they are creating some positive, healthy boundaries. One good change she's witnessing is parents being more aware of how they were raised and how it translates to their own parenting style. We've hit a paradigm, a universal shift. In the world today, where many adults are becoming more conscious of their own upbringing and how they were raised and recognizing the bits that weren't so great and the bits that were fantastic and becoming more conscious about the parents they want to be, rather than being on autopilot. And that can only be a very good thing for the world, says Frost, who does not have any children of her own. Throughout the years, with the introduction of new techniques, different approaches and changing styles, Frost says her beliefs always stay consistent. My philosophy and my style has always been for parents to become confident in the process of understanding the gray area, the middle of parenting, she says. It's about understanding the importance of how you intuitively and objectively, with assertiveness, connect with your family. I think that's really important for families to understand, especially the newer generation, when we are living in a world that is so polarized with parenting advice. It's important to understand that in today's world, where there is so much information, it can be rather confusing for a lot of parents. She's often asked if she keeps in touch with the thousands of families she's helped over the years. They will occasionally send photos or updates on their family, but she does not initiate the interaction. She calls the correspondence a pleasant surprise, but it's all business for Frost. Professionally, you are there to help these families at a time when they really do need you, and professionally I respect those boundaries, Frost says. It's lovely to hear from them and see photos and drop a note back. But professionally, I don't go around writing emails to all the families because that would be crossing healthy boundaries. Self-proclaimed super nanny Jo Frost has recently released a book in which she explains how to keep toddlers from running and ruining the lives of parents, and basic instructional advice about how to avoid complete meltdowns in public. Advising on how to discipline children when you don't have children at all is sort of like me giving my teen son a few pointers on how to. Self-proclaimed super nanny Jo Frost has recently released a book in which she explains how to keep toddlers from running and ruining the lives of parents, and basic instructional advice about how to avoid complete meltdowns in public. Theirs, not yours, apparently. She comes at the angle of disciplining children, seemingly better and smarter than any parent. After all, what do parents know? Besides our own children since the day they were born? I've always found her advice, while theoretically sound, is like getting advice from that crabby older lady in the grocery store who shakes her head at your squirming and yelling toddler. Advising on how to discipline children
Aren't your own,
when they, or when you don't have children at all, is sort of like me giving my teen son a few pointers on how to dress cool. To the best of my recollection, I've never been a teen boy. Or dressed cool, for that matter. Think about the substitute teacher that comes into a normally unruly classroom. Simply by not bringing any baggage to the situation, he or she is more easily able to establish new rules which the children are more likely to follow. And they're just as likely to fall back into their own routines with their regular teacher once the sub has gone. As parents, we have great huge piles of baggage with our children. Try as we might, we can't tag it unclaimed and send it back. We were there from the beginning, and we inherently know that we will be there in the end. The end being hopefully when we pack them off to live their own lives. And so, our discipline and our methods are somewhat tainted by the Cation 4. Background knowledge of how many times they have previously struck their brother, the number and breadth of ways their sister has insulted them, and the uneasy feeling about the upcoming vacation where everyone will be expected to just get along. We're running, in essence, a family business, or, of course, the business of being a family. And if you've worked in a corporation who has brought in an outside consultant to fix things, you know that while most of the advice and business plans that they present is fantastic in theory, how can it not be when it involves so many supergraphs and charts? The odds of effectively implementing these changes and making a real difference in the running of the business is slim to none. Likewise, when a super nanny steps into an out-of-control household, her single biggest weapon in fighting against toddler meltdowns is that she is simply not the toddler's parent. This is something, as parents, that we can never replicate without being charged with child abandonment at the time of birth. What we can do, of course, is to make sure that our children know who is in charge, as I wrote about in my latest book, I Am So, the Boss of You. Because there is no doubt that Supernanny is in charge, and is deploying an effective, if not attainable, model of a perfectly run autocratic household. Her advice is really for other nannies, caregivers of children, or know-it-all unrelated grandmas in stores, not parents. Not that I wouldn't hire her to be a substitute mom for me, every once in a while. Kathy Buckworth is the author of I Am So the Boss of You, an 8-step guide to giving your family the business, recently optioned by Warner Brothers Television. Lifetime's Supernanny returns Tuesdays. New series debut features Elmwood Park family of Pleases Elmwood Park family of Pleases Elmwood Park family. Supernanny is back. She's just debuted a new series on Lifetime, and Tuesday's episode brings her to a Chicago suburb. Janet Davies talks to Nanny Joe and an Elmwood Park family with 4 children under the age of 6. It's raising a family and finding the balance between giving the attention and energy that rambunctious children need, but also providing for your family and making ends meet, and today that requires 2 people working with the circumstances and the climate out there. I was just at my wit's end at one point. I chose to have 4 children. I wanted a big family, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. This is my life. I wake up every day for these kids, and we just roll with it. When you watch a Supernanny show, you're empathetic to the circumstance because you can relate and you root for the family, and you know that if they can do it, you can. The docuseries follows the author as she teaches parents how to manage unruly children. It initially ran in Britain from. The revival is scheduled to debut on US cable network Lifetime on Jan 1. It will always remain a privilege to be educating and helping families evolve, and making a difference, Frost said in a press release. Thank you, Lifetime, for bringing this groundbreaking show back to families nationwide at a time in the world when we so desperately need it most. You think you have been blocked in error? Contact the owner of this site for assistance. If you are a WordPress user with administrative privileges on this site, please enter your email address in the box below and click Send. You will then receive an email that helps you regain access. Childcare expert Joe Frost above is breezing back into the lives of families all over America to whip them into shape on Lifetime's reboot of